The Masai Mara. This national park in southern Kenya is quintessential Africa. Wide open spaces and lots of exotic animals. The Maasai tribe that lives in this area has been pretty much living like this for hundreds of years. It's in a very remote area of Kenya, about 150 miles from the capital of Nairobi. But there is a thriving church community here, and that's thanks to the work of a small group of missionaries who's been here for about 15 years preaching the gospel. Shane and Terry Russell know how challenging it can be to live in a developing country.
We woke up one morning to find ourselves in the midst of the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. Me and my family, my 4 children, and we had to get out. And the Lord got us out of that situation.
That's when they came to Kenya.
When we first arrived in Masai Mara to establish a church here, we had nothing. And we brought in a 20-foot shipping container, and that was our home. And it was quite an adventure.
Before coming to Africa, Shane and Terry spent a year at the Master's Mission, a missionary training center in the North Carolina mountains. It takes a comprehensive approach to preparing Christians for the field.
In addition to the Bible training, the program involved training in mission station planning, water systems, plumbing, electrical, drafting, diesel mechanics, gas engine mechanics, drivetrains, how to build a road, airstrips, how to build small dams, animal husbandry, carpentry, solar systems, bush living. I would not have made it as a missionary living in the bush of Africa if I had not gone through the training.
The Master's Mission was founded by the Teasdales, a family of missionaries that's been working in Africa for 4 generations. Jim Teasdale has lived in Kenya for most of his life and will soon return to the States to head the Master's Mission.
Long-term missions is on the ropes, and the majority of the people in the world that are still unreached with the gospel live in very austere, remote environments that the short-term missionaries are not getting to. Most of our missionary force is coming out of middle-class suburban America, and they're not equipped to go into those environments and get the job done. The vast majority of the resources of the American church are going to short-term missions, which means the few long-term missionaries that are there have fewer and fewer resources to work with every year.
Loingalani is a village that sits on the shore of Lake Turkana in northern Kenya. When Jim Teasdale moved here with his family 15 years ago, the 4 tribes living in the area were at war with each other. There was no electricity or clean water.
When we first got here, we were camping for the first 3 months. I was cooking on 3 rocks, hand washing the clothes. So what we did was sleep in a shipping container, and then we camped and lived out in front of the shipping container. It was a lot of fun.
Over the next several years, Jim and Barb used the skills they learned at the Master's Mission to develop a spring and install water points for the community. They built a house, complete with wind power and a workshop. They also started a local church.
A missionary coming to an unreached area has to earn a hearing. And the best way to do that is just simply fulfill the biblical mandate, love your neighbor as yourself. When we do that, that means trying to get clean water for our neighbors, trying to bring security for our neighbors. Without security, you don't have anything. Trying to meet their medical needs, just anything that we would like to have ourselves.
Today, Jim is using his experience in Africa to help other aspiring missionaries make it in third world countries. The curriculum at Master's Mission also includes training in one area that might surprise you.
Master's Mission is probably the only mission agency in the world with a first-class firing range. We give our missionaries weapons training so that they have the capability to protect themselves, their families, and their neighbors.
Security is more important now than ever in this area. Just 2 nights ago, there was a big firefight right here behind me as bandits came and tried to steal some camels from the village. Fortunately, they were driven off by armed policemen armed by the government of Kenya. But Jim says the risk is worth it.
There's a lot of places in the world where an American missionary can go and be safe and comfortable. The parts of the world that are not like that is where the unreached people are. And that's where we need missionaries.
I think as the saying goes, Jesus called us to the ends of the earth, not to the end of the pavement. And people live beyond the pavement, and they need the gospel like anyone else does. This is what God's called us to do, and I'm going to do it to his glory.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, in northern Kenya on the shores of Lake Turkana.